Today's December. Today's January 4th, 2026, and I have I just have to make this journal entry for myself because look, I got all my dogs, like all my remaining dogs, right there. Every one of them. Look. Okay. Mr. T, Sally, Goldie, Bonnie, and Rip. And they're all sleeping. Okay. Well, Sally, and they were all dreaming. Well, okay, they weren't all dreaming. Some of them were dreaming, and when they start dreaming, see what they do is they start shaking their legs and stuff, like they're running. And I actually wasn't planning on making a journal entry and get set up, but it's like when my dogs get in a certain thing or position or something, and I want to capture the moment, because I know they're not going to be with me forever. And like if I wasn't able to have pictures of my dogs and stuff, then it's such a hole in your heart. I mean, at least if you got a picture, at least you can look at something, right? Like I can look at my journal entries here, and I know that I will be able to look at them, and this one in particular, because like all 5 of my dogs are on that bed right now, and that's kind of a rare thing to have everybody together like that. That's like going to your grandma's house, on a holiday, and everybody else in your family comes, maybe. And a lot of times, I don't get that many dogs left. I used to have a lot of dogs. I used to have a lot of dogs. And, it's just been sad to see him go. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew the day was coming when it was going to start to happen. Look, I knew this stuff. I anticipated this, but it was the way I got these dogs. I couldn't do nothing about it. I couldn't rehome them. And then I fell in love with every one of them. So, these are the pups I got left. I got 5 dogs left. I had like 21 for a good long time. I think at one time, I had 23. And when they were puppies, I had even more. But I'm talking about when they got big. And these dogs are all Mastiff. Except for, Sport, he wasn't, I got him under other circumstances. And Quinn, she wasn't either. And of course I got her under different circumstances. But I had a lot of dogs from from my dog Charlie Maximus, and then another Mastiff Monkey. He had a professional name. That monkey had actually a professional name. He had an AKC name, for breeding purposes and all that kind of stuff. But all my dogs, are 3/4 Mastiff, and except for Rosie, I mean Goldie, you know, she's only half Mastiff and half American Staffordshire Terrier. And so all my dogs got a quarter American Staffordshire Terrier and 3/4 Mastiff from breeding from, you know, like that. And so I just really want to, you know, note this one here, you know. My dog, like, I'm gonna show him again. I'm gonna show myself again, like. All right, well, I guess I might as well show one more thing, since I'm actually making a journal entry. I wasn't really planning on making a journal entry. I just seen my dogs like that, and I had to. And I'm just looking for a flashlight because I can show you what else I put on my sign. Well, I don't know. I can't find it. I got a real bright one, but I don't know where the one that's not so bright is. Let's see if this works. But I, you know, I might be able to see it even without a flashlight. But I added to my rule number 5. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Look. All right. Talking about rule number 5. When all goes wrong, you despair. Make some dung butter and hang in there. You can make holy shit. And look, so I guess I'm just gonna use this journal entry right here, because I've been meaning on actually saying, you know, my evolution in thinking as I started, you know, okay, the first thing is in my climbing wall and my sign, okay? All right, the first thing is, all right, I was so infuriated, you know, look, I didn't have TV for a long time, and, you know, because I lost my power a while back and stuff. I didn't have any electricity. Man, I went without electricity for a good long time. And then after I got my electricity back, I'm really thrifty, man. I'm just going to tell you a story. I'm just going to tell you a story real quick, just about electricity. Just because it's actually a funny story, okay? By the time I lost my electricity, this time is not the time I was talking about, okay? Because, see, I had gotten kicked off my own property by some of my tenants. I had tenants on my property, okay, that I was renting. I furnished my garage. I was renting it to these people. Oh, look, it happened more than once. It happened twice. But okay, look, man. Look, I just had bad stuff happen. All right, and so I couldn't come back to my own property. And so I called up the electric company and I said, look, I want you to turn off my electricity, okay? And I don't want you to turn it on for anybody. All right? Because I'm not using my electricity, and I want my electricity cut off, and I don't want to turn back on until I say so. And, you know, man, so the person living on my property got my electricity turned back on in her name, but yet nevertheless, she got it turned back on. She's squatting on my property. And, you know, so she never paid the bill. And it went up to like $2,000. And then, you know, I came back, I did come back to my property. I figured, well, she's paying the electric bill. I guess that's worth something, you know, so I, you know, let her stay in this camper I got, you know, in the back. And, but then she left. And then the electric company came after me for a $2,400 electric bill. They turned my electricity off. And because so they wanted me to pay it, and they said that I was a benefactor. And they wanted me to pay $2,400, or else they weren't going to ever give me electricity again. And man, I argued with them, and I argued with them for a couple of hours, and I got hung up on, and then I called back, and I appealed to the higher person in charge, the higher order, and everything, okay? And look, man, and so finally I told them, I said, you know what? I said, I can't live without electricity. I can't live here without electricity, okay? I need electricity to pump my water. Or I ain't gonna have any water if I don't have electricity. And I need electricity to, well, there's other vital things for survival that I have to have, okay? That I gotta be able to, well, my water pump, my lift station to lift the crap and everything from the drum to lift it up into the septic tank. That takes electricity. And look, I said, look, so this is the deal, okay? I told them, I said, I got a couple big trees in my front yard, and I got a big rope. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna write out exactly what you did to me, and how you how I told you not to turn the electricity on at my house, and then you turned it on at my house, and then you try to charge me, and then you make me suffer, and I told you I can't live like this anymore, and I told you exactly this way it's gonna go down. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna drop myself with a noose around my neck from this big oak tree I got in my front yard with that note pinned onto my jacket. And I'll go ahead and I'll call the news station. I'll go ahead and I'll call the news station and tell them exactly what I'm going to do before I do it. But I'm going to be doing it real pretty quick. And you know what? And they turned, and then the lady got somebody else, and then they turned my electric on. Like it was in a matter of minutes. But anyway. Yeah. So, anyway, that's that story. But look here about about my sign out there. You know, see, first I was so angry, man. That's why I come up with the idea about a sign. I always did want to make like a climbing wall and everything. I mean, I really wasn't thinking about that so much exactly as I was about just saying something on a sign, because I was talking to my next door neighbor. I told him, I said, I'm going to make a sign, because he said, are you listening to that Trump shit? Anti-Trump shit, he said. And because I have my TV on my front porch, and I guess he can hear it. And and I went over and talked to him and stuff. because it's him and his father, they lived together. And I used to give his father a ride to the airport. And I fell asleep one time and didn't go to pick him up, take him to the airport. And then I went over there to apologize. And then we got talking about politics stuff. I said, no, I'm putting a sign in my front yard. I said, because I'm going to say something about this. And he's a Trump supporter, and I'm not a Trump supporter. And I said, I'm making a sign. And, look, I was thinking a long time about what is it I wanted to say, and there's a hard struggle to figure out, what would you say? And then I kept having to make it bigger and bigger because when I got an idea, then no, I need more room than this because I know how much room it takes for me to write something and everything, and I'm not going to make a sign with a bunch of little tiny words. I mean, and so. Then I started making it, and then I started thinking, I was thinking about is the government, like molesting us, and the way that you talk about this is like, pushing up a dildo of a person's butt, or raping them, or something like that. But a common expression is, and the reason I kind of felt the okay to look at it in this manner is because my mom, she was angry at somebody one time or something like that, and she told me, she was talking to me and telling me, I don't remember exactly the situation. I can't remember, I just remember her saying up your butt. Man, that's the first anytime I ever really heard her say anything really, really mean like that, And that's what she said, up your ass, or something like that. And so look, that's what I knew. Okay, that was the worst possible thing that could happen or you could say to somebody. Like that. And so, that being said, okay. Metaphorically speaking, there's a lot of dildos that can be shoved up a person's butt. Okay, the government puts them out. And the ones that I was just thinking of are just so common ones. Okay, I call it a Tom Homan dildo because he took a bribe for $50,000 and the government didn't do anything about it, and they want the American people just to go ahead and stuff that one right up their butt. All right, well now Trump is going to war. Okay. With Venezuela because they want the oil. The rich people want the oil, and they want the American people to take it right up the butt. They want to put that dildo right up the butt. See, well, the reason that's a dildo right up the butt is because, it's the rich people making all the money off the oil and stuff like that, and they're all pissed off because some kind of arrangement ain't working out right in Venezuela with them, and so America has come to the aid, just like we had to come to the aid to, Argentina or something? I think it was Argentina, and gave them $40 billion because we had to bail out some hedge funders or something, in Argentina. So we got to give Argentina 40 billions because then that is like giving the 40 billion, to our people, they've made investments over there. And America's got to take that right up the butt. Okay? Other thing America's got to take right up the butt is the fact that, in 1776, all right, we put our lives on the line together as a country. It's a limited country at the time, but nevertheless, as a group of people bound and determined under the auspices of truth. Okay? And truth that is self-evident and cannot be denied. All right, and an egalitarian spirit that all men are created equal. And even though we had to work a lot of stuff out because in the beginning, the cultural kind of context and stuff like that, it's very, very barbaric and primitive. And we have gone beyond it, but when you think back upon it, it is our reality, and you can't whitewash it out, okay? And it is very, very bad. And there's really not any kind of talking you can do to redeem it or say, well, if it wasn't for this, then we wouldn't be this. No, it's just all a bunch of bullshit. But nevertheless, okay, it is our history. And our task is to try to be better, okay? You can't fix the past so much, but you can, learn from the past and at least try to be better through the evolution of the human spirit and the human brain and education. And of course, again, because it's things that cannot be denied. And that's why on my sign, I got the mountain of truth. Well, I am not saying the mountain of truth, but when I say climb every mountain, I'm actually talking about the mountain of truth, actually. Because that's what I spend my time talking about when I'm talking on my journal entries. And, all right, well, you only can say so much, right? And it's this idea of the spirit of climbing, okay? And the thing is, when you make dung butter, okay, let me just finish up out here. Okay, so there's a lot of dildos that can be pushed right up the American ass, okay? Look, all these ice raids, these are dildos pushed up the American ass, okay? And actually, some of these people go to these prison camps and jails and stuff like that, and they even get raped. They actually get dildos pushed right up their ass. It's not a dildo. It could be somebody's boot. Or it could be a flashlight. Or it could be a man on a man or a man on a woman. It's kind of hard to be a woman on a... Well, anybody can have a foreign object pushed right up their ass. And these are things in life that should not be. And the American government will push these right up the American ass. And it makes me angry about that. And so, I was going to make a joke, like, not a joke, but like a satirical kind of joke, like make fun of it, like you would see like on the Daily Show or Saturday Night Live or something like that. And sell dung butter, dehydrated sewage, straight out of my sewer, straight out of my septic tank. I dehydrate it, add a little bit of oil, and that's how you get dung butter. And it does cures. And I'm going to have a stick figure up there of people talking, because the kind of commercials that they have all the time, that I see, oh my God, nobody believed me, but now everybody wants one. A bottle of dung butter for that dildo the American government is pushing right up your ass. Make it not hurt so bad. Right? That's where I got the idea of dung butter from. But then actually from that point on, later on, as I began writing it out, like I didn't write anything down. I just kind of went off top of my head, and just started writing because I had thought about it enough. And I figured, well, I've thought about everything that I could ever actually think about. So, however it comes out, that's the way it's going to be. And so it is what it is. But, see, the way that it came out was, I'm not talking about it. This is kind of funny the way it came out, because the way it comes out the rear end. All right, well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Right now I'm talking about the way that it comes out the way that I did it in my writing and stuff. It just came out like dung butter means hard work. And then that's really kind of the way that really I had to comply. All right. I didn't really try to give up on the satirical notion of dung butter. But, then when I started actually doing it, I realized, well, no, dung butter actually means, sweat from the crack of your ass from hard work. And that's so. And then finally, now it was yesterday, and then I think today I outlined it. I outlined the white lettering that I made with a black marker. I should have said you too, but I said you can make holy shit. Okay, if you're making dung butter, which actually just means that you're working hard. Okay, then you can when all goes wrong, you despair, make some dung butter and hang in there. You can make holy shit, because holy shit is an expression. People say holy shit when they're really surprised about something. So you can make okay, like if you did a really astounding job on something, somebody might say, holy shit, that looks really cool, or that looks really good, or something like that. So then, it was just an evolution, and when I now look back on it, it kind of feels like, like I've been, guided, like I just been riding the rapid nice and easy. I don't know. Anyway, so on this day today, January 4th, 9:30 at night, just taking note, because my dogs are right there, the 5 I got left, and things are winding down, and just winding down with my dogs. I mean, they're all gonna be going. Big dogs don't live that long, and I mean, I know it's gonna be hard. These ones left to have them ripped right out of my heart, because that's where they've been for a long time, and it's hard to see them go. And but they've been with me, and they look. They don't look too much like working dogs right now, but look, actually they can jump into action, and they are completely 100% loyal, especially to me. And I bow down before them in worship. Well, so I'm just gonna stop this one now, because I made note of my pups, and the evolution of my sign, and finally coming to the point of holy shit. So a lot of times when we look back on our life, we might just say holy shit. So I'm just gonna call this one holy shit, except I'm not gonna write it out shit. I'm just gonna write SHI star, and that's it.